Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. As today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams off season so far. As today we got the Nashville Predators, as we're going to be dissecting their pretty good off season as they continue to try to build their team up and maybe make it right back into the playoffs once again. And honestly, I liked every single move that the Nashville Predators did. I think there was only one where they, locked up Lausanne for some dumb reason. But honestly, I love the McDonough move. Philip Forsberg locking him up wasn't a bad idea, and getting Neil Niederreiter was also another good move. So before we get into talking about the Predators offseason, I like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. And if it's a little bit darker for this video, for some fucking reason, my camera or my lighting is just not working at all. So now I got to go and invest on some new lighting equipment because, well, I smashed it because it was just not working like at all. It went off and on. It was pissing me off. I don't know why it wasn't working, but the USB thing seems to be broken on it because I've accidentally knocked into it a few times and bent it a little bit. So instead of me talking about my broken lighting, let's talk about the Nashville Predators here and go into their off season. And honestly, I really enjoyed what they did this past off season. They didn't make a whole lot of dumb moves that, was like the Duchesne or Johansson moves where it's like, come on, guys, what are you doing? But even then, the Johansson and Duchesne moves have turned into not bad. Johansson had a great bounce-back season this past year, 63 points in 79 games. And also to note, Matt Duchesne also did really good this past season as well, posting up 86 points in 78 games, finally having a really good year for himself as well. So that's a good thing to note. They had really good bounce back seasons from these two guys, in both Matt Duchesne and Ryan Johansson, and you're getting what it's actually worth out of Matt Duchesne's contract. So if you're going to be getting this point per game player out of Matt Duchesne, this could be massive for the Nashville Predators moving forward. So let's get into the very first thing, which was the draft. And honestly, I really enjoyed the draft here for the Nashville Predators. You look at the prospect system, and, they got some really good guys with Fedor Svechnikov. He was a really good pick last year in that draft. Zachary Hilurics. They got a lot of, forward, prospects coming up the pipeline. And even one analyst in Corey Perlman, who was reading his review, thought they were going to go after a defenseman. But when Joakim Kimmel came up at the 17th overall, I mean, you can't go wrong with this guy. Kimmel was amazing during the World Juniors there for Team Finland, who had 12 points in 7 games. He played great in the Liga, has an amazing shot, 15 goals in 39 games there in the men's league, which is just absolutely insane. So I think if you're a Nashville Predators fan, Joakim Kimmel is kind of an exciting player to have, and honestly is a great way to start the draft. Adam Ingram, not too bad. Really skilled forward, has some upside either playing the wing or center, and is a big point producer for sure. And then also you got, a nice future third pairing defenseman in this Casper guy, who's a nice right-handed defenseman, which was one of their first picks for their defenseman, and puts up a decent amount of points, good two-way guy, and played quite well in the Olinka Gretzky Cup this past year for Team Finland as well. So, and did play in the World Juniors as well, putting up a decent amount of points as well. So Casper not looking like too bad of a defenseman for the future there for the Nashville Predators as well. So not a bad draft, in the middle type of draft, around a BB plus for this, this draft. They didn't do too bad with a lot of the picks that they were making in this draft, and especially getting Joakim Kimmel, I thought that was a really good selection. Kind of a Victor Arvidsson type of future player, and honestly, really good kick there by David Poley, getting him onto the team. Then the trading has begun there for the Nashville Predators, getting the Ryan McDonough in a deal where they only had to give up Philip Myers and Grant Mishmash, which I honestly really love this deal. You took advantage of the Tampa Bay Lightning needing to clear up some cap, so you get Ryan McDonough on a really, really good, I mean, his contract's not amazing, but, you had cap space. You had cap space, and you could, easily make some space. You don't really have to give anybody big contracts over the next little bit. So, honestly, you could keep the team the way that it is and not really have to worry about, re-signing McDonough, because by the time, Duchesne, Johansson, and Granlund leave the team, most likely this team will be stepping into the rebuild. So, the time frame for this team is, next 3 to 4 years is the time to win a cup right now. Like that is the time frame to win a cup here for the Nashville Predators, is the next, 3 to 4 years, unless Tomasino and some of your other prospects really blow up. But even then, they're not like the best amazing prospects that could change a franchise. So the time to win is now, and picking up Ryan McDonagh, I thought was a really, really good move. I really liked it. Then they also got John Leonard. Leonard for Luke Kunin. John Leonard, he's an alright guy. Produces a little bit there for the San Jose Sharks, but mostly just going to be a bottom line guy. Maybe he could turn himself around, but Luke Kunin wasn't able to do too much there for the Preds. Now he's going to be dumped off to the Sharks, and they get an extra third-round pick. Don't see anything bad with that move, but I really, really like the Ryan McDonagh move. Great two-way guy, and especially, you know, the way that it's looking, like, if McDonagh's going to be playing as your in the top 6, you know, that's quite good. You know, that's a really thick defense core when you're talking about that. You have Yossi, Fabro had a great year last year. Then you got Ekholm and Alexander Carrier, and now you just added McDonagh to the core. That's a really good defensive core going into next year, especially when you got your starting goalie as UC Saros, and that is just a crazy good defensive core, alongside of the fact that you have a really good top 4 now as well. Just really good job by David Pulley to build up a really good defense core and focusing on that the most, because honestly, a team like this could go really deep into the playoffs with a really good defense core, and they've done it before, so maybe they could do it again. And then on the next move, they signed up Jeremy Lauzon for the next 4 years at $2 million. I don't know why they did this. Jeremy Lauzon is not a very good defenseman. He plays all right defensively. But I don't think as a guy that you would want to lock up for the next, 4 years at $2 million. Like, I just don't see the reason why to do that. It makes kind of no sense to me. Honestly, I would even re-sign Jeremy Lauzon. I would have just went with Mark Borowiecki again this year. But even then, Mark Borowiecki is not that great either. But Lauzon, I just don't see why it wasn't even the best trade in the world when they did go and pick him up at the deadline there, because they traded, what, 2 seconds? A second-round pick for him, which was just, why? Why trade away a second-round pick for that type of guy? That makes no sense to me, but it's not like it's an abysmal contract where it's going to hurt the team a whole lot, so I'm not going to ding him too much on it, but still not the type of contract you want to sign to that player. Next up, Philip Forsberg signed a 8-year contract worth $8.5 million as they locked up their big boy there and their franchise guy here in Philip Forsberg, which, I mean, he kind of deserves the contract here in this situation. He's been basically, I mean, this was his first year being a point-per-game player, so it's definitely a risk, to say the least. Like, he's been an amazing two-way guy, been an amazing player for the very first year. He's actually had a really good center. But that's the thing, locking a guy up on that big of a term is a big risk, because what happens if he doesn't, stay to that point per game type of play, right? That is definitely a big risk, but I do like the 8.5. It's not, 9.5. The 8.5 is a lot more digestible for sure, especially since they don't have any other big young guys that are going to take up a whole lot of cap space here in the future. I think Forsberg around that range is what he's probably worth, especially after the year he just posted. And he's a 30-goal scorer every single year as well. So almost a 30-goal scorer. But, I mean, this guy has been a big pivotal piece for the Nashville Predators over the past few years. They haven't been a super offensive team, and every single year Forsberg has been that big offensive piece. So I think moving forward, he definitely deserved the contract. It definitely was coming towards them. Yeah, I like the deal. I don't really see anything wrong with it. Sure, it's definitely a long-term contract, but when you're trying to get a player to lower his cap hit, you increase the years a little bit, and that's just the way that she goes. The other moves, nothing really else happened, but they did get Neo Niederreiter on a 2-year, $4 million deal, which I absolutely love this deal. He's an amazing two-way guy, produces a decent amount of points, can play on your second, third line, can play just about anywhere, throws up 20 goals per season, doesn't play that bad in the playoffs. I think this is a really good addition to the team. I mean, his defensive prowess is just going to be massive, I think, for the Predators, and getting him on a pretty good 2-year, $4 million contract is really nice. Trennan as well, amazing deal for Trennan as well. Amazing two-way guy who plays really, really well defensively, produces a decent amount of points as well. And the depth is looking really, really good, especially when you're talking about Tomasino being down on of course, he'll probably be up on the third line, but when you're looking at the depth here for the Nashville Predators, it's a pretty good depth. They're looking really good. They also got Kevin Lankinen. I don't know why the hell they signed Kevin Lankinen. He's not that good of a goalie. Maybe he'll do better with not having to play as many games, which most likely he's going to be playing, at least 12 less games this upcoming season. So we'll have to see how well Kevin Lankinen will do. But not a bad pickup, but definitely not ideal. But pretty good offseason here for the Nashville Predators, quite honestly. A lot of improving moves, you know, with this team that is making them really enticing with the addition of Niederreiter and McDonough. That makes them bigger defensively, and not just that, better offensively as well. So I really like what they did. I think, you know, are they going to be a team that's going to make it past the first, second round? I don't see it. You know, there's still some really good, deadly teams in this division. It's going to be really hard, I think, for the Nashville Predators to move past that unless they have unreal seasons from just about everyone. And they really have a big improvement from Tomasino and, you know, Jeannot, who had a really good season as well. So I think there's a lot of big question marks here with the Nashville Predators, but I do believe that this team could be a really, really good team, especially with the addition of Ryan McDonough. And since they got to beat teams like the Colorado Avalanche, St. Louis Blues, the Minnesota Wild, there's a lot of good teams in the Central Division right now that are bolstering their teams up, getting a lot better year by year. So the Nashville Predators are just in a tough division, and I'm excited to see what they'll do with this upcoming season. But honestly, for the grade for this upcoming this past season, as I hit the mic as well, sorry about that. For the grade this upcoming season, honestly, I'm gonna give them. You know, they didn't really even lose anybody either. I think they only lost Matt Benning and Nick Cousins, but they, you know, Nick Cousins I thought was a pretty big loss. I think they should have brought him back. But when you're looking at their depth, they already have Trent in there. They got Cody Glass, especially if he's, you know, comes in full swing this year. Honestly, I give them an A. You know, I like a lot of the moves that they did. The only move I didn't like was the Lausanne. They had a pretty good draft. The McDonough trade was really good. You know, picking up, you know, Niederreiter was also a really good move. So honestly, liked a lot of the moves that the Nashville Predators did. But for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, guys, in the comment section below what you guys thought of the Predators offseason. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.